I was browsing my YouTube channel getting ready to upload my next video when I noticed I was at 99 videos and this next video I would upload would be my 100th. So to celebrate that milestone, I made this video, which is a retrospective of all the cool things I made since I started my YouTube channel. And I'm going to be adding a little bit of backstory and fun facts about each project I showcase. This all started 8 years ago when I uploaded my first video on YouTube. This video I made just to show my friends and family what I was doing on the weekends. These strips of wood you see me using were from where I was doing my apprenticeship, and they come from a machine that makes windows, and this is basically an offcut that gets out of it, and usually they would just throw it away. So over the course of a few months I just gathered them and used them to make a segmented vase. There were over 1,000 pieces on this vase. Like I said, at the time I was still in school for woodworking and doing my apprenticeship. And when I uploaded this video, nothing really happened, got a couple of views in a few weeks, but then after a few months it just suddenly blew up and got 800,000 views. I was able to monetize my channel at this point and made like $50, which I was really happy about. After that, over the next couple of years, I made a few more videos and a few of them got over 100,000 views. I wasn't thinking much of it, I was mostly doing it for fun, even though I was making probably about $100 a month. But then I was making more and more money and I had reached 5,000 subscribers, and it was just about that time that I was finishing school and I wasn't really sure what to do next. So I decided to just give this YouTube thing a try and see where that could lead me. So I had reached 5,000 subscribers, and to celebrate that, I wanted to make a segmented vase with 5,000 pieces. To do this, I used the same strips of wood from the window making machine where I used to do my apprenticeship. When I look back at this, I can't believe I drew this entire thing by hand. When I drew it, I knew it was going to be too big for my lathe at the time, so I made a little skit where I gave my lathe some steroids to make it bigger, so it could accommodate that big vase. But this was too big to hollow it out, so it's not really a vase, it's more of a plant pot. This was a great success. It had reached 100,000 views in 10 days and 1 million views in 100 days. A lot of people in the comments said that this looked like one of those rotisserie kebab with Christmas lights around it. Made a few other cool things, but let's stop on this one. On this one I use a bunch of exotic hardwood with lots of different colors, including ebony, to make Sauron's eye. All the beautiful colors you see are the natural aspects of the wood. I didn't use any dye or anything. These colors look amazing, sharp and vivid, but that's when they're freshly cut. After quite some time they kinda dull out, being exposed to lights and stuff. This video also was a good success, and this item I still have on a shelf. I didn't sell it. The next video I uploaded, which was only 6 months after my 5,000 subscriber video, was for my 30,000 subscribers, and with the same idea as the 5,000 subscriber video, I made a vase with 30,000 pieces of wood to celebrating reaching 30k subscribers. For this one though, I had to cut my strips of wood. I didn't have enough from the offcuts I was salvaging from where I used to work, and also I wanted to use walnut and ash, for example, and that's not a wood you would use to make windows. This whole vase apparently I also drew by hand. I realized watching back this video. This whole vase took me 300 hours of work, although probably a third of that was gluing all these segmented rings together. Although I would call it only half working because I was basically sitting in front of the computer watching and listening to podcasts. It's also at that time that I upgraded my lathe and I basically bought the biggest one I could find at the time. Since then, I know there are bigger ones, and one day hopefully I will be able to buy one, but at the moment I don't have nor the money nor the space for it. It's since at that time I started putting more care into my camera and editing work. As you can see, I made some cool traveling shots, and this is also the first time I made my proprietary filming from inside the vase shots, which at the moment I think I'm the only one that makes this kind of shot. And a lot of people tried guessing how I make them in the comments, and only one or two people came really close to understanding how these shots are filmed, but most people are completely wrong. I'm not going to be saying much more about that because I don't want to spoil the magic behind it. I did use some of my salvaged strips of wood from work to make this giant torus that goes around the vase. But I think at that point I had used all the strips of wood I had salvaged from making windows over the years. At the end of the video, I break down every part of this vase and how the total amount of pieces of wood actually turned out to be 30,001. So I just said every segment represented one subscriber and the extra one was for me. This is a once in a lifetime build and I still have it and it's still for sale, although I'm not sure I will ever find a buyer for it. After making such a massive segmented vase, I wanted to see how small I could go, so I made the smallest segmented vase I could, but that still had a lot of segments. This one had 360 segments. And at the end here I put it next to the 30k vase for size comparison. We are now in March 2020, right in the middle of the first lockdown, and I made a video called A Wood Turner in Isolation. During the whole video, I didn't explain what I was doing, and I revealed at the end I was making a TP holder to make fun of the toilet paper shortages that were happening. Exactly a month later, people are literally fighting in stores to get toilet paper, so I made a sequel called A Wood Turner in Isolation, The Last Roll, and same idea as the last video, I didn't explain what I was doing until the end, which was a Cryptex to protect my last roll. This next one I want to showcase, not only the video was a good success, right now it's at 2 million views, but the vase itself also was my first big success because after selling the one you see in the video, I had more and more orders and I think I sold probably 10 throughout the years. This vase I named Agar because it reminded me a lot of the browser game named Agar.io that was popular a few years ago. Now this next one is still to this day my most viewed video of all time. Right now it's at 8.8 million views. And that's a video I knew was going to work well because at the time the big trend was turning colored pencil, except everybody was just dumping pencil in a bucket of resin to fill all the gaps. And I wanted to surf on that trend to capitalize from it, but didn't want to use epoxy resin. So I went through all the trouble to sand down every single pencil into squares so I could glue them all together with regular wood glue. The vase turned out pretty good. I sold quite a few also, but the main reason I did this video originally was just hoping to go viral, and it actually did. This next piece I want to show you is something I called bending spacetime, and it's a vase, or let's say rather a sculpture, based on Einstein's theory of general relativity. I'm not very good at explaining it, but basically the shape represents how an object in space affects space and time and bends it around it. There was actually an episode in The Simpsons where Homer traveled through the fourth dimension and accidentally fell into a black hole and visited our world. At the moment he fell into the black hole, it's like this kind of green grid. It's pretty much the same shape as what I made. This vase was also a huge success back in the days. I have sold more than 20. Every time I had multiple orders at the same time, I was doing one or two extra ones to have extras ready in stock to be sold. That was working really well for a couple of years, and then suddenly I stopped selling any of them. And I still have one extra one for sale right now. It's on my website if you are interested. The next video I uploaded after this one was about how I made a big segmented bowl. And it was a challenge to see how far I can push both my lathe and myself. The interesting thing about this, though, is it's not just a regular segmented vase, the pattern is actually not the same on the inside and the outside. That's an interesting concept I only did once, so maybe in the future I'll do something like that again. The only way for you to know if I will is to subscribe. I never sold this bowl because, I mean, who wants to buy a giant bowl like this? But what I can do is turn it into a coffee table by simply adding a glass disc on top. Maybe then somebody will be interested in purchasing it. This next one, to this day, is still one of my favorite pieces, and the video worked out pretty well too, but it almost didn't. This was my first video where I learned that changing the titles and thumbnail can make a huge difference. Just look at this screen grab. The first 20 days, nothing happened, and when I changed the titles, in about 60 more days, it had reached 2 million views. The title that ended up working was One Wood Turning to Rule Them All. And if you haven't guessed by now, what I made was the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. What I didn't say is that this was actually the second time I was making this. The first time was a fail. I wanted to make it as exactly as possible as the ring, including the shape, and a ring, the way a ring is shaped is it's not flat on top, it's kind of curved. And so I tried to do that, but I failed to glue the veneer on a compound curve. I didn't know how to do that at the time. I've had a ton of requests to sell this piece, and I still receive some every month. The problem is, well, there's actually three problems. The first one is the least important, is the one I just mentioned. The shape is not perfect. I'm not quite happy about that. Second one is you will see there is some LEDs inside, and if they fail the way I made this one, you can't get it out and change them. If I was to sell something like that, it would be probably a couple of grand. Imagine buying a lamp at that price and the bulb failed. You can't get and you can't change them. You'd be pissed. The third and biggest reason is I'm technically not allowed to sell this because the inscription on the ring are copyrighted. And the Tolkien estates, which hold the rights, well, they are notorious for being pretty annoying about this, and I've heard some stories of people getting into trouble just for writing fan fictions. Someday I want to make this again in a way that it could be a product that I can sell, but I would have to figure out how to make it the exact shape of a ring, how to be able to change the LED strips if they failed, and not get in trouble legally with the Tolkien estate. I'm skipping over 10 videos here to land on this one, and so far I've been reviewing videos that worked out pretty well, and this is not one of them. I was quite disappointed in how the video turned out, but also that I never sold this design to this day. On a side note, looking back at this, I don't know why the footage looks so yellow. I guess this was filmed in Mexico by Vince Gilligan. Maybe the reason why this video didn't get very popular is because pretty much the first half of it is about the same thing as the giant bowl I just showed you earlier. Except I was not making a bowl, I was making a chair, a Papasan chair. I did get the idea by simply looking at that giant bowl I made and trying to figure out what the hell could I do with it. People were joking around saying, hey, this is big enough you could take a bath in it. And we're not to that point yet, but one time I just put it on the couch, threw in some pillows in there and sat in, and it was actually quite comfortable. And that's how I got the idea to make something very similar but turn it into a chair. This exact chair is still in my living room because I didn't want to sell it. It's actually so comfortable. But I did put it available to be made on commission. But so far I haven't had any interest shown into it, which I was surprised. But then again, that's a piece of furniture I cannot sell internationally. It's just in France or in adjacent countries because it's so big. The logistics of shipping it to America, for example, where I sell most of my work, would be way too expensive and complicated. But again, if you are in France or in European country and are interested in this design, it doesn't have to be made in the same wood as this one. If you don't like the color, for example, I can make it any wood species you would like. Go to my website to see more details about this chair, and you can contact me there through the contact form. Skipping over quite a few videos again, and this one I don't have much to say about, except it was a quite successful video and also a very successful design. I have sold quite a few throughout the years, and well, I have a few left for sale if you are interested. You know where to go to find them. Oh, but the one thing that was funny is everybody kept saying, "Oh, why did you put fake flowers in it? Oh, such a shame, you should have bought real flowers." And those are real flowers. I went to the florist and she was like, "Who's the lovely lady?" And I was like, it's for YouTube." 2 videos after this one, I uploaded my second most viewed video of all time. And brace yourself because I'm about to complain about that. Because you see, sometimes I spend hundreds of hours working on something that I'm extremely proud of, only to have it perform very poorly due to some reason by the algorithm. And on the other hand, I make this video in about a day or two, and it gets millions of views, but let's be honest, what I made, it's crap and it's useless. You're not even supposed to reuse plastic water bottles. And the reason there isn't any up close shot is because I didn't put really too much care into it because I knew I wasn't gonna sell it or even use it. But I still had a little fun making it, especially playing with compressed air in the workshop. Now this video is the one because it has everything. Although not my most watched video, it still got 6 million views, and it is my most profitable video of all time in terms of ad revenue. Also, the response from the viewers was amazing, everybody loved it. And to be honest, sometimes I worry this was my peak and I will never be able to top that. This design I've been wanting to make for a very long time, even before I had made the bending spacetime sculpture I showed you earlier, which I made 2 years before I made this one. This is because it took me years to figure out how to make it, and especially how to work out the orientation of the grains so it would both look nice and be just strong enough to be a coffee table. Check this out, I found the original sketch I made in my sketchbook. Also, at that time, I moved out of my dad's garage into a new workshop, and I also added some subtitles to my editing. I took inspiration from Russ of the channel New Yorkshire Workshop, and the little text he was adding I thought was really helpful to understand what was going on, so I did the same thing. I don't remember how many hours I put into this, but it was a lot. And I remember when I was close to finishing it, it was December, and I wanted to post it on Christmas morning. So I spent Christmas Eve in a workshop taking the last pictures you will see at the end, and that's why the backdrop is full of wrinkle. I didn't have the time to iron it. I managed to finish it in time, and on Christmas of 2022, this video went online. A lot of people said, well, that's nice, but having a big hole in the middle of your coffee table, not very practical. And they were right. So I didn't show it in this video, but I added a glass top to it. And 2 years later, when I did another one of this table for a customer, I made a little follow-up video, and here's a clip of me adding that glass top. 2 months after that last video, I uploaded the first video I did, which wasn't about wood turning. The last video was kind of the segue into furniture making because it still was a wood turning project, but at the same time I was making a piece of furniture. But this one was just pure furniture making. I had those boards of apple wood for a few years now, and I didn't want to use it for my regular wood turning because what I was usually making was cutting a lot of tiny pieces, but those boards had beautiful grain and I didn't want to waste that cutting it into small pieces. So I thought a long time about what I could make with it, and it was quite tricky because the board were in very bad condition and I had to really think about how to get the most out of them. First, I took the best looking ones and glued them all together to see how big of a tabletop I could make, and from there I decided to make this into a desk. It's not every day that a woodworker gets to work with apple wood. I have never seen a piece of furniture be made out of it, and I think this desk I make is absolutely magnificent. And if you think it is beautiful too, well, good for you, it is still available for sale on my website. I'm skipping past 10 wood turning videos to the next piece of furniture I made. And in this video I made a big dining table with some of the most amazing looking walnut I've ever worked with. At the time, the big trend was to make epoxy river tables and everybody was doing it, and I was fed up with it. And I think I wasn't the only one, so the whole idea behind this table was to not use epoxy resin and find a more creative way to join two slabs of wood together to form a tabletop. The other trend at the time was to make longer videos and to add narration to them. And I think we all know who popularized that idea. It's that bald guy that can't stop yapping all the time. Since I wanted the same success as him, I did the same thing, and this is the first video where I added some voiceover. It got very well received, people liked the voiceover, and at this day it has over 3 million views. I don't have much more to say here because if you want to know more about how and why I made this table, you can simply watch the original video where I go into much more details. The one thing I have to say, and this is getting redundant here, but this table also I never sold, unfortunately. I call this a dining table, but I think it would be more suitable for a conference table because of the giant hole in the middle. Because of its size and weight, just like my other pieces of furniture, it's only available for sale in Europe. So if you are in Europe and are interested, I mean, at this point you know where to find it. By now I was interested in making more furniture, and so I made another video where I made a giant dresser. This dresser was designed for me because I wanted to solve a problem that is very specific to me. Just like the last video, I advise you to just go watch that video if you missed it. But be aware, I made a joke in this video. I made a lot of jokes, but there's one that didn't go quite well. Well, there's nothing wrong with the joke itself. I mean, it's a joke. But I guess my delivery was a bit off, and so people didn't really understand the meaning behind it. I'm not gonna say it again, just go watch the original video if you're curious. But anyway, most people thought it was funny, a few people got butthurt, and were like, oh, this is outrageous, as if I had said something horrific. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's still an amazing dresser and a cool video. Also, this video involved a bit of engineering and metalworking. I had recently invested in a metal lathe and a milling machine, and they were very handy to have to make some very special parts in aluminium that I needed for my complicated invisible drawer slide system. Speaking of complicated, this one I titled The Most Complicated Table I've Ever Done. Parentheses, and it cost me nothing. This is because I wanted to make an extending table, but where the extension is automatically put in place, because most expanding table, you need to open it and then install the extension. Sometimes the extension is not even stored inside the table. What I wanted was that the table goes from not expanded to expanded in just one single movement. And also very frequently the mechanism is simply made out of wood, but that's not durable enough for me. I wanted this table to last forever, so I completely designed and built the whole mechanism out of metal. As for the "it cost me nothing" part of the title, well, that's because at the time I was getting less and less views on my videos, which meant less and less revenue. So I needed to build this cool table, but in a way that it would cost me almost nothing. So I designed it entirely out of scraps and leftover wood I had from previous projects. The only thing I had to buy was the linear guides for the sliding of the two half of the tabletop. Other than that, the whole mechanism was built by hand using what I had in the workshop. It's a good thing that it didn't cost me much because I thought this table would be sold quite easily, but matter of fact, you guessed it, it's still not sold, still available to be bought. Go to my website and, as they say in Canada, check it out. Second to last video I want to show you is not about wood turning or furniture making. It was something a little different from what you see typically on YouTube videos. I never saw somebody else make something quite like this. What we did, because I made this with a friend at his workshop, was a Japanese style garden bridge for a client. It was made out of exotic hardwood because of its higher resistance to being outside. Unfortunately, the client wanted it painted red. It was a little sad to cover that beautiful wood, but you gotta do what the client wants. Okay, this is the last video I want to talk about. Remember earlier when I said that sometimes it was very frustrating when I spent hundreds of hours of work on a video only to have it perform very poorly? Well, this is a great example of that. This video I uploaded 4 months ago already, and it's only have 50,000 views, and I have 350,000 subscribers, so it doesn't really add up. Plus, this video and project was kind of a gamble. I explained it in the video, but basically a friend needed a simple coffee table, so I said, hey, I can make you one free of charge. But I ended up making something much more complicated. Even though I tried to make it with things I already have in the workshop to save some money, I still spent a little bit of money on this project. I think I got basically 250 bucks in return from the video, which is absolutely ridiculous compared to the amount of work put into it. But like I said, it was a gamble and I lost. But in the end, you know what? It's not just always about money or views. I have zero regrets making this. I had a ton of fun building this table, especially because it was a gift for a good friend. And seeing how happy he was discovering what I made for him, well, that's worth more than millions of views and millions of dollars. Well, okay, maybe not millions of dollars, but you get the idea. Thank you so much to every single one of you that has been following me and watching my videos. If you recognize every single one of these videos, you're a true fan. If you didn't and missed some of these videos even though you were subscribed to my channel, please tell me in the comments because I have a suspicion sometimes the YouTube algorithm doesn't even show my videos to my subscribers. And if you were new to my channel and this is the first video you saw, well, go check out my channel, there's a lot of cool stuff I haven't even shown in this video. I complained a little bit about the unpredictability of the algorithm, but overall, I'm the luckiest guy ever. I get to do what I enjoy and make a decent living out of it. But anyway, again, thank you so much to every single one of you. I never thought in my wildest dreams of reaching those kind of crazy numbers. I mean, my channel has 68 million views in total. I mean, that's just insane.